Hello, everyone. Welcome to Week at Sports. Red Wings rumor mill just before the trade deadline. I'm actually going to post this right after we make it for once. But there has been some stuff just before the free agency opens up on Monday, which I'm still probably going to do a live stream once that starts at 12. But the rumors have come around, right? As Gensel got traded to the rights got traded and then he signed to the Lightning that Stamkos might be a Red Wing as it's coming up.
Well, I think it doesn't mean he's going to be a Red Wing, but certainly that looks like a real possibility.
It's becoming more of a favor that we might
looks
be where
like
he's going.
that's for sure a sign that Tampa Bay probably is not going to re-sign him. I don't know what he wants. They offered him like 8 years at $3 million a year, which I guess he didn't like that.
I mean, he probably wants a little bit more, but I mean,
or maybe
3
he
years
wants more like $8 million a year for 3 years.
I don't think he's probably thinking he's getting that, but he might. I mean, he got 40 goals last year. He was an 80-point player. He got a point per game.
Right.
He was a 40-40 guy. So it's not like he doesn't deserve money, but he's probably not going to get around that 8 mil. He's probably more or less going to get around that, probably around 5.
We were like, there was like discussion that we could come away tomorrow. Dream scenario: Trouba, Kane, and Stamkos all on our team.
Because there's been talks throughout the draft, and we'll talk about the NHL draft too, what we think about the guys that we drafted. But for the most part, like before the draft, there was talks that we're trading for Trouba. It's still out there that we're working on a deal. The Rangers are going to probably eat up to $2.5 million of the contract that he's making, so that's $6 million that you'd be paying Trouba if you got him. And that's for 2 more years, and that'd be replacing Wallman and Gostisbehere. And he's more of a defensive style defenseman. He's not going to get you points, but he's going to be the guy who's in people's faces. And that's kind of why people have a problem with him, though, because he's on occasion crossing that line of suspension, not suspension every now and then.
And I like that kind of player. We need a player that kind of walks that line a little bit. We got too many Lady Bing guys on our team. And I think, like I said, a Trouba type. Maybe they said he had a down year last year. They pay him an awful lot of money to be a stay-at-home, be a defensive defenseman. They usually don't get paid $8 million a year. Like I said, he's got 2 more years left. If they could swallow 2.5 to 3 million of that, that gives us time for our defensemen to develop a little more and be ready to come up in a couple of years.
Yeah,
that's, I think, the plan.
And there's a chance we do get him. There's a chance you just let the young guys play, and we'll see exactly in the coming days what exactly happens with that, because the trade not necessarily won't happen tomorrow, but there's a chance it happens sooner than later, and then you're sitting on whether you're signing Stamkos or Kane, and the talks are that we're pretty good with Kane right now. That seems reasonably likely he will come back, and they're kind of just trying to figure out the final parts of a deal because it's just little pieces that are left.
Could we come away with both of them?
There's a chance. I mean, depending on the money. Because obviously we got to get Sider signed. You got to get Raymond signed.
Yes.
And save some money for them before you sign anybody else.
We've already penned in. We know
16
million is already kind of
about half the cap space you have. So 16 million between Stamkos, Kane, and
which leaves about 16 million. What's that? What's
so 16 I would say
what's 16 divided by 3?
You're probably likely not going to get between the 3 of them unless because Trouba.
What is 16 divided by 3?
I think Trouba's still going to get 5.5.
Can you average them out to be 5.3 and sign them all?
And that's just a question on exactly if that's going to happen, because it is up in the air exactly what's going to happen and who
Wouldn't that be a hell of a power play with Kane?
Stamkos. You have Kane, Larkin,
Raymond. Woo!
Well, you probably have to brink it on one of the lines too.
Well, you got to break it up into 2.
You split them up. That'd be 2 power plays.
That'd be a hell of a line. Your top line would probably be Stamkos, Larkin, and Raymond. Your second line would be Comfort, Kane, and DeBrincat. I would think if you had that. We're jumping ahead.
If that happened,
It's fun.
but we'll get more of that if it actually happens. But I mean, there's a chance you end up with all three. I doubt you will, because that means you're probably not signing anybody else of your free agents. That means Perron's gone. That means Goss's Bear's gone. That
They can
means
be gone. I don't.
they're all will be gone, and you're only bringing back Kane out of your free agents that
That
are
might
happening.
be the result. Yeah, it depends on how these guys would work.
But looking at other things, the draft that just happened, the guy that I said that we probably would end up getting out of the one website I looked at, we got Brad Nygaard.
Right.
So he decent size for a winger, right? First Norwegian taken in the first round. So there's a lot of hype around him just because of that alone.
What they say about him is he doesn't have a weakness. He's a very good player all around. Not elite at any one thing, but very good at most things, and really not bad at anything that they can see. This is an all around good hockey player that should be up in a couple of years.
You should. I mean, like we're looking at, because we got our guys that we drafted last year. You got Danielson and Axel Palentia.
Right.
So they should be somewhat up, I would say, in the next few years too. So we're around a decent draft order, because I mean you got Max Plant, which doesn't seem like too bad of a guy. I haven't been able to dive deep into all of them yet, but you kind of rounded yourself out with who you picked. You ended up taking 3 forwards. Well, no, not 3. You ended up taking 5 forwards, 2 defensemen, and a goalie. You basically drafted a whole nother line in this draft. And you drafted another goalie. I mean, I don't know why you're drafting a goalie every year, but I guess if you want to see how one works out, if you keep on going.
I guess it's kind of like a running back. You draft one every year just in case, and maybe you can get lucky and somebody develop. You never know.
But I mean,
I guess this tells you we're going with Lions and Husso this year.
Lion and Husso, but that's the other rumor that we're talking about potentially getting Gibson. That we've been in talks with Anaheim about recently about acquiring Gibson.
It should be a fun game. It should be a fun day.
It is going to be it is just going to be, we're going to figure out as it happens, because you hear talks that we're really connected with 4 guys right now, being Kane, Gibson, Trouba, and Stamkos. Outside of that, I haven't heard too much on who the Red Wings may or may not be going after. They've had talks, but it seems more likely that Goss's Bear is going to free agency. It seems that Perron might be going to Ottawa or Toronto. I wouldn't be surprised if Perron went back to St. Louis, though, because that's where he started his career. And if he's ending his career, he might want to end it where he started.
Possibly.
So I wouldn't be surprised with that.
I mean, I'll miss him. I like David Perron. I think he's a good player. I just think he's gotten slower. And, he was a big hero of the final game last year. If we could have gotten to the playoffs somehow, that would have been a huge, that would have been maybe the biggest goal we've had here in the last 20 years, 20, 30.
Yeah, that would have been a bigger goal. That definitely would have been one to remember. I mean, Raymond had a couple also in the end of the year.
Right.
That Raymond were like that.
Played amazing. But yeah, it'll be very, very interesting to see what happens tomorrow. It should be fun.
The guy they took in the 3rd round, Andre Betcher, he 80th overall. He's 6'2", 187. He's a forward. He had 96 points, 32 goals, 64 assists in the Western Hockey League through 58 games. That's not that bad of stats. So he might be on his way to potentially being a decent player. The goaltender we took was 6'3" or 6'5", 193. He had a 17-6-2 record in the OHL for Sault Ste. Marie. So, I mean, it's gonna be surprising if he comes up, but
right. This is hockey. I mean, really, they're drafting for a few years down the line, 3 or 4 years down the line, seeing where if they develop into something.
The other one of the defensemen we drafted, John Wimple, he's 6'1", 192. He had 2 goals and 15 assists through 61 games. That's not amazing stats in my opinion, but maybe he's a really, really good defensive player out there instead of being on the offensive side. The other winger we drafted, Charlie Forslund, he's 6'3", 212, 19 points, 9 goals, 10 assists in 19 games. He's Sweden. He's a Swedish guy. He had 16 points, 13 goals, and 3 assists on their U20 team. The 7th round, the other winger we drafted is let's see. They're not giving me his size, obviously. Okay, but he had 15 goals and 16 assists in 59 games on the U18 team.
Well, usually it takes 3 or 4 years, so we should do a show on the 2020 draft and see where those guys are at, if any of them were even in the league at the time.
I mean, some of them probably are, I would assume, by now, but we can look back at that.
Yeah, we could do a show on that.
But it is going to be an interesting day tomorrow. Like I said, I'll probably be going live around the draft just for live reactions on what's going on.
What time does free agency start?
12.
Noon?
Yep.
I'll be back from the Secretary of State by then, so yeah, maybe I'll be on.
We'll react as signings are happening, not only the Wings, but other ones. If you like what you see, though, like, comment, subscribe, share the video around. Let me know what you think about all these rumors before free agency happens. And next time, hope to see everybody soon.